Once a Marine, always a Marine. Is that a myth or is that something that's true? Now, I'm going to speak to my own experience in the Marine Corps, which is going to be kind of different from however, Jesus, I'm speaking like a British person, how other people experience their time with the Marine Corps. The reason why I'm making this video is because I saw this question posted on Reddit and it got me thinking. So I figured I'd make a video about it. As far as I'm concerned, me myself, yeah, I still consider myself a Marine. Not active duty, obviously. Way out of shape for that. But there's a certain mindset that you gain, at least in my case. Again, speaking from my own experience. I joined the Marine Corps very, very fresh out of high school. In fact, while I was going through my last year of high school, I was going through the delayed entry program for the Marine Corps. I served from, at least as far as active duty, from 2009 through 2014. And then from there, it was a couple years of IRR, which is inactive ready reserve. And I was never called up for anything, so I didn't do shit for the Marine Corps for that time. So technically, I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years, but active duty, I was only in for 5, which is 2009 through 2014. There's a certain mindset you have when you join the Marine Corps. I'm not saying this is a one size fits all thing, but you know that when you join the Marine Corps, it's not going to be the Army, simply for the fact that it's a different service. I wasn't fully aware of what the difference was between the Army and the Marine Corps before I joined the Marine Corps. I thought they were kind of the same, which they're not. Now, they have been used, at least at least during the time when I joined, they were being used as the same, but they have very different missions, very different purposes. And if you're somebody that joins the military and then you run across a soldier, somebody in the Army, and you run across a Marine, somebody in the Marine Corps, you'll see that there is a difference between the two, and you probably can't quite put your finger on it. I honestly can't either. It's kind of an indoctrination thing. So when you get to boot camp, step on the yellow footprints and whatnot. There were all kinds of documentaries about this stuff during GWOT, the Global War on Terrorism. But there was all kinds of documentaries made on this sort of thing and all of that. But as far as step on the yellow footprints and the process of boot camp, so I'm not going to go into that so much. I am going to go into something that they didn't really cover, which is brainwashing. And I'm not saying it's a good thing, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But the Marine Corps, no shit, fucking brainwashes people when they join. They strip everybody of their self-identity. You're no longer I or me. You are this recruit. That is what you are, is this recruit. You do not have a rank. You were not addressed by rank during boot camp in the United States Marine Corps. You are addressed as recruit until you make it to the Crucible, which is a certain part in boot camp towards the end of it, where you actually become a Marine, and then you actually have your rank, and then you call your drill instructors by rank as opposed to drill instructor and senior drill instructor. Whereas, from what I understand, again, I wasn't in the Army, but from what I understand, the Army does things differently. You can call yourself I and me, and you are addressed by rank. as opposed to just recruit. This is a very important part of distinguishing a Marine from other people in the military, because you aren't considered part of the Marine Corps when you get to boot camp. You're considered part of the Marine Corps once you pass a certain standard. Just because you signed up doesn't mean that you're a Marine. Whereas for other services, it means that you're a soldier or an airman or a sailor. But for the Marine Corps, you are not a Marine until you pass through the crucible. And through different methods of indoctrination and brainwashing, which, in my opinion, I think are necessary to create a fighting force out of a bunch of fucking 18-year-old high school graduates and turning them into people that are gonna go out and kill people. You kind of fucking need that, otherwise they're gonna shut down the first time they get into combat. But anyways, because of that indoctrination, it's almost cult like. Then when you get your unit, well, sorry, once you get through boot camp, you go to MCT, which is Marine Combat Training. At least that is the case for non-combat MOSs. I wasn't an infantryman. I was a SIGINT guy. I was a 2621. So I went through MCT instead of SOI, even though those are both held at the same place. They're very different things. Guys that go into combat arms go through SOI. Guys that don't go through MCT. And they go into more combat training and things like that. Even when you get there, the indoctrination is pretty strong, which, to be honest, it still should be if you're going to train a bunch of young people to go to war. Then you get to your first training station, for your MOS training. For infantry guys and combat arms guys, that would still be SOI. For non-combat arms guys like 2621s, like me, signals analysts, once we go through boot camp, which is the 3-month process, and then MCT, which is about a month process, we then go to our MOS training, which however long that takes, which is why I had a 5-year contract instead of a 4-year contract. The indoctrination is still there. You're going through your MOS training, and for me, when I went through my MOS training, I had Air Force guys there. I had Army brothers and sisters there. I had some Coast Guardians there. I had some Navy guys there in my class, but I was still a part of a Marine Corps unit, and we still operated separately from everybody else. Which the other services did too, but we had our own shit that we did. We had a lot of hand-to-hand combat training while I was at MOS school. Now, whether that hand-to-hand combat training is effective versus Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or MMA fighting, whatever, but we were still very full into, we are fucking Marines, we are separate, and we're going to conduct ourselves as such. So a lot of our PT stuff was centered around MCMAP, which is the Marine Corps Martial Arts program. And we conducted ourselves as such there. That was a lot of our physical training that was there. Now I get to my unit, which was Company D, Marine Corps Support Battalion at Fort Gordon, Georgia. And it's hard to describe the difference. But our bearing, the way that we conducted ourselves, we were working desk jobs there because we were working intel stuff and we were working it from the States. It was all very computer based. Even the way that we conducted ourselves and how we approached our job, which was to find people, um, and I'm trying to be careful with my wording because of I don't want to go to jail or have a big fucking fine. But even the way that Marines conducted themselves in approaching their particular jobs there was very, very different compared to the other services. And I didn't really realize that because the particular shop I was in was very focused on finding targets, kill the target, and move on to the next target. And the way that that shop conducted itself is very close to how the Marine Corps conducted itself, even though that it was a mixed shop of different services, including civilians. I didn't understand how different that was until I went on my first deployment. And I had pre-deployment training at Fort Meade, Maryland. And this was just to make sure that everybody was spun up on the type of intel stuff that they would be doing to support different units that they were being deployed to support. My unit didn't deploy as a full unit. I deployed individually from my unit as part of another group that was pulled from different services and stuff, which was CST 17. And CST 17 was all Marines, but I had myself, which was from Fort Gordon. I had a couple guys from Hawaii. I had a guy from England who was stationed out there, and I had a reservist officer from New Jersey. Like, we pulled people from everywhere to form this little small unit that was going in to give intel support to this army unit that was going into Nangarhar province, Jalalabad city. And for the pre-deployment training, they were going through different methods, different ways that you would find a target. I'm trying to be careful with how I word things, sorry. But myself and the Marines that were in my unit that were going to deploy, we had a very different approach to, we had a very different way of going about our approach to intel. Our approach was finding the enemy and killing the enemy. Almost every other service there had more of an approach of, where is our enemy? How can we find him and how can we exploit him? Whereas all of the Marines who were in that class were very, very focused on how we're going to kill that enemy. I hope that gives a decent differentiation between the different services. I won't go into all of the different differences as far as political or how the Marine Corps can be used versus the Army and all that stuff, but because this is already getting kind of long. But even after the Marine Corps, one of these sayings that was commonly said while I was in the Marine Corps was mission accomplishment first, troop welfare second. And this is based off of a handbook that was given out to Marines for leadership, where mission accomplishment was the first objective and troop welfare was the second objective. And it wasn't to say that you disregarded troop welfare, but mission accomplishment was first. Whereas in my civilian life, working as an aircraft mechanic, it seems like people coming from other services do not put mission accomplishment first. I'm not saying that they don't do a good job, that they don't do good work, but mission accomplishment is not their goal. They're looking out for themselves, which maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. But that mindset of mission accomplishment first, troop welfare second. Keep troop welfare in mind, but mission accomplishment comes fucking first. Get the job fucking done, and then worry about how everybody feels. Worry about everybody's vacation days second, but make sure the job gets fucking done first. And I've seen that in other Marines that I've worked with who are now civilians in the same workplace I work in, whether they come from Motor T or past aircraft maintenance, or like me coming from an intel field. Like we didn't all work together in the Marine Corps, but now we're working in the same work area and we are Marines, and there is a definite drive for getting the job done over how does it make me feel? Am I comfortable doing this or anything like that? It is getting the job fucking done. Whereas with other services, it seems like it's more they put themselves, I want to say they put themselves first. That's not quite right. But they put their job description and what they were hired to do first, as opposed to just getting the fucking job done. Which might be right, might be wrong. I don't know. But I hope that answers the question of once a Marine, always a Marine. Like, it will always affect your mindset. It will always change you. Not always change you, but it will forever change you. So I hope that answers that question. Is once a Marine, always a Marine a true thing? And I say yes, because of the indoctrination. Yeah, it's a true thing. Once you get trained to think that certain way and you get indoctrinated into that, you won't think the same again.